Hey guys, it's Mrs. Rohling. Welcome to our first online lecture. We're going to write an introduction today. So, an introduction is going to be about 5 sentences, and weirdly, we're going to start at the end. A good introduction is like a map for the reader. After reading it, they know exactly where the essay is going to go. In order to write a good introduction, then, we need to have an idea of the pieces we are putting in the essay. Last week in class, we worked on your second section, your current event summary. If you're not done with that yet, you'll want to take some time in the next week or so to give that a shot. Today, we start with a reference to the third section, your argument for your current event's historical significance. I mean a reference because we're not going to explain the entire thing. Our introduction paragraph is going to have a sentence about what this argument will be. The sentence in your essay where you tell your reader what you will be arguing is your thesis. So, as you can see, a thesis sentence includes a little bit about what the essay is about and your own insight or assertion about the topic. So, you've seen this before. Our thesis paragraphs are going to be about 5 sentences, 4 or 5. And right now we're focusing on this last piece at the end. A thesis is one sentence, the last sentence, a powerful sentence that directly answers the essay question you were assigned. The thesis should include the subject and your opinion. It needs to be bold and something 2 reasonable people could debate. So, some sample thesis statements you might see in a different kind of essay is a sentence like this. Life is easier now for children than 50 years ago. You could argue this either way with evidence in a paper. Good thesis statement. Students should be punished if they don't do their homework. I'm sure you all have some firm opinions on this one. It's a thesis statement because 2 reasonable people could argue it. Or unhealthy food should be taxed higher to encourage healthy eating. Now, that's not our paper. This paper, this argument at the center of your essay, is about the significance of the current event that you chose. So, the final sentence in your thesis paragraph is going to be, it's going to tell the reader who will be impacted, and is it of short-term impact, medium impact, or long-term impact. So here's Mrs. Rohling's example. I've been working with the current event story about President Trump limiting travel from Europe. So my thesis, I wrote, though this measure seems extreme, the effects on travel, the economy, and the people will resolve by 2021. This thesis indicates I'm going to argue in the next few paragraphs that there is a medium-length impact on people's lives, on the economy, on travel. I've said who, and I've introduced how long. So this is going to be my final sentence in my paragraph. To spell it out, your thesis statement equals one sentence, who and what will be impacted, plus for how long. Feel free to pause here and give it a try. You could write it on your own triangle in your worksheet from class or type it into your essay on Google Docs. When you're ready to move on, moving backward in your introduction to the second to last sentence, the summary sentence. Summary. A one-sentence overview of your current event. Give the necessary background info that someone who hasn't read the story or doesn't know much about it you're going to discuss would need to know in order to keep your paper making sense. Keep it brief. You're going to have your summary paragraph in the second section. So really we don't need a lot here. We need one sentence that introduces the idea in the introduction. Go figure. Summary sentence in your introduction. As I said, you are going to go over it in more detail in the next paragraph. This is one sentence to introduce the idea. I just need the main idea. So here's Mrs. Rohling's example. My one sentence summary of the current event. President Trump announced that travel into the U.S. from Europe would be banned for 30 days. And then, of course, I follow up with my thesis. Though this measure seems extreme, the effect on travel, the economy, and people will resolve by 2021. This is my summary plus my argument I'm going to follow up with paragraphs about in the body of the paper. So feel free to pause here and give that one a try. You could write it in your own triangle or on your worksheet from class, or type it into your essay on Google Docs. The last part is going to be your first and second sentence in your introduction. It's called a hook, a one-sentence attention grabber. And you've got some options here about what your hook could be. You could give your reader a relevant fact, an analogy, a metaphor, could be a famous quote. You could turn a cliche on its head. You could start with a shocking statement. You're going to want to avoid questions as a hook, and you're going to want to avoid definitions. Webster's Dictionary defines, those are overused and not particularly interesting, so they're not going to hook in your reader. Here's where we put it. Hook's going to be your first sentence, an attention grabber. The bridge is going to smoothly connect hook to summary. How do these things tie together? How does your hook tie to your summary? That's where your bridge sentence goes. And I have an example for you. So, after a little bit of thought, Mrs. Rohling chose this fact to be her hook. In March of 2019, 1,352,526 people traveled from the U.S. to Europe. I found that at the National Travel and Tourism Office. So what does that have to do with my story? This is what I'm going to do with the bridge. In March of 2020, many of the millions of international travelers could be stuck in Europe for a while. Then I go into my summary sentence. So your hook might require a little research. You could go find a quote or statistic. If you do find a quote or statistic, make sure you record your source. You'll need to cite it later. You could think of a shocking statement or a cliche that your current event addresses. So now we're going to go and try and give all of this a try. You could write it on your own triangle, on your worksheet from class, or you could type it into your essay on Google Docs. Your introduction should be submitted on Canvas, and its due date is Wednesday, March 25th at 11:59 p.m. My final slide is what my paragraph would look like in my Google Doc. So when I finish this all together with a hook, a bridge, a summary sentence, and my thesis that I'm going to argue later in the essay, it would look like this. In March of 2019, 1,352,526 people traveled from the U.S. to Europe. In March 2020, many of the millions of international travelers could be stuck in Europe for a while. President Trump announced that travel into the U.S. from Europe would be banned for 30 days. Though this measure seems extreme, the effects on travel, the economy, and the people will resolve by 2021. As you guys know, what would follow then, according to our outline, is my summary paragraph of the current event in greater detail with who the current event is about, what is happening, why it matters, and any relevant details you guys think the reader needs to understand your current event. Good luck. If you have any questions, I will be answering emails within 10 minutes every day between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. Those are my office hours. And you can always send me an email and I'll get back to you outside those hours too. So I hope to hear from all of you, and I wish you all the best. Stay safe, be happy, and I'll talk to you again soon.